Hello, welcome back to Midnight Kitchen. Today we're going to be making one of my very favorite recipes, the Japanese milk bread. You can tell from all these photos that this recipe works, and it may be addictive. Once you master the base recipe, you too would want to be creative. Imagine all the variations from ham and cheese, green tea, chocolate chip, cream cheese, you name it. Let the baking fun begin. Just like cooking, mise en place and getting your ingredients ready in advance is very important. Now let's weigh all our ingredients. Weighing out your ingredients is important, especially for baking. Imagine measuring flour. How you retrieve flour from a cup actually changes the final weight. Is it tightly packed, loosely packed with a lot of airspace, or what brand did you use? All these factors change the final weight of flour and will change the texture of your bread. Have you had an instance where you made a loaf of bread and you thought to yourself, wow, this is great, and the next day for breakfast it turns out rock solid and hard, and you thought to yourself, what happened? Well, this bread will solve that problem. It will remain moist on day 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, depending on your kitchen or storage conditions. Here I'm starting with medium, and once I add the ingredients, I immediately turn down my heat to low. I want to slowly cook the egg yolk with the flour and milk ingredients and create a roux or a paste-like substance. We're not making a pancake at this stage. To help with the inflation costs, I make this at home rather than buying a loaf of bread. It may seem like a lot of work for one loaf, but once you get the recipe down, you can scale up. For this video, I'm going to be using a bread machine. For subsequent videos, we will test a similar recipe with variations using the hand method and also the KitchenAid method. With bread machines, I tend to go liquid first and slowly mix in my flours and other dry ingredients. When I first got the bread machine, I didn't like the results. It was great the day of, but then on days 2, it was rock solid. To combat this problem, I have my own recipe, and I only use the machine for its ability to mix and proof, but I don't use any of the pre-formatted settings. It might look a little dry at first, but once you add the Tangzhong custard, it will give it that moisture that it needs. Because this recipe is comprised of a portion of gelatinized roux structure, it takes a little bit more time to form your classic gluten strands. Therefore, mixing and kneading is going to be longer than your average bread making experience. I highly recommend a bread machine or a mixer if possible. If you're making this by hand, this will be the most challenging part when it's sticky. However, I promise you, if you continue at it, your dough ball will be nice and smooth. Unlike a traditional brioche, this recipe uses a lot less butter. It has the same effects, buttery yet soft. See how smooth the dough is looking? This is exactly what you're going to look for. After approximately 30 minutes of kneading, take a piece of dough out, stretch it, and look for a classic window pane effect. This tells you that your dough ball is ready. Look at the elasticity. The window pane effect is a good indication that enough gluten has formed. After the first proof, you'll notice that your dough is airy and very light. It doesn't look like it has grown much, but the properties inside have changed dramatically. You can now proceed onto your first shape of the dough. The first thing I do is divide my larger piece of dough into individual smaller dough balls so I can begin working with each of them. This cutting technique is optional. You can simply roll your dough into a flat surface, roll it up into what you see here, and that's it. Once you have learned the basic dough recipe, you can do so much with the folding and manipulation process. You can make flower shapes, different folding techniques. It can be as fancy and simple as you like. Now align your dough balls neatly at the base of the pan and allow it to go into its second proof. I want to avoid condensation at the base of my loaf, so I try to take the loaf out as soon as it's ready. But remember folks, do not cut into your bread. Here I like to brush my fresh loaves with a little bit of butter. The outer butter gives your dough a nice glossy sheen, flavor that it needs, but also a little bit of moisture during its cool down process. This part is completely optional, but I love sprinkling it with a little bit of molten salt for that crunch. This is the hardest part, folks, letting your bread cool before slicing it. Remember, if you slice it while it's steaming hot, all the moisture will escape the loaf rather than redistribute, and you might get a very hard loaf at the end. There are so many preparations you can do with your loaf. Here I am making a fried egg sandwich with some tomatoes from our garden. It was delicious. Thank you so much for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this one, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.